समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या? समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.
Direct negotiations between Modi government ministers and CJP leaders have begun. Sonam Wangchuk has broken his fast, and one dramatic late night move has also been made to impress the protesters. This was the removal Thursday night of the Higher Education Secretary. The protesters who want the education minister's head were obviously not impressed. And here is also why it reminded me of a tiny framed poster on a wall in my office, given to me by my daughter, who knows I so adore the 1942 film Casablanca. Even if you haven't seen it, the film, you would be familiar with the expression, the film made immortal. That's the character Captain Louis Renault asking his cops to round up the usual suspects after the protagonist, Rick, carries out a fatal shooting of a German officer in his bar. These secretarial movements are just that, a rounding up of the usual suspects. In any such crisis, the civil servants become this convenient target. Even earlier, some key people in the NTA, that is National Testing Agency, have been removed. These include then Director General Subodh Kumar Singh, IAS Chhattisgarh cadre, who was removed after the NEET leakage of 2024. Politicians think it's convenient. Vineet Joshi, the outgoing Higher Education Secretary, is still a secretary, now gone to Panchayati Raj. He was the first Director General of NTA. It's a merry musical chair of who else but usual suspects.
And even though Dharmendra Pradhan has resigned and protesters will now go home happy, hopefully,
the Indian youth's struggles won't end. Indian childhood has now become the most stressful, competitive, and unidimensional in our history. Take NEET. This year, more than 22 lakh children appeared for it. About 5%, or maybe a little over 5%, were selected for the 1,39,489 MBBS seats. Another 25 to 35,000 will go overseas for MBBS, mostly to former Russian republics, many in Central Asia, the Philippines, even Bangladesh. Clearing NEET, which is being above the 50 percentile cutoff, is essential for them if they want to return and work as doctors in India. This underlines the undersupply problem. So severe is the undersupply that families are willing to pay money to send their kids to these foreign countries where it might cost them 15 to 25 lakhs per year for education. That leaves out more than 2 million who did not make the cut. Many of them also sat for QET, the common university entrance test for all central universities and their affiliated colleges, with quite poor odds. Millions of others are already competing in JEE for engineering colleges, and even for those that climb this first ladder of these entrance tests, competitive exams will never end. For post-graduation, PhD, teaching jobs, and maybe who knows UPSC, and so on. From the age of 15, the life of an Indian kid from a middle-class family or below is an endless trap of coaching classes, competitions, and then paper leaks, so re-examinations. I'm limiting it to middle class and below simply because I suspect most from the upper crust will have their children go overseas for undergraduate education and pay the top dollar for it. Now you know why so many children are at Jantar Mantar, many with their parents as well. There is no time for extracurricular activities, hobbies, and for heaven's sake, sport. Then we ask, why do so poorly in sports? Your parents will feel like killing you or themselves if you start wasting time on sport. To understand how this works, check out the composition of the one sport in which we are finding world-class talent, which is cricket. The current teams across formats for India and in almost every franchise from IPL to a dozen other local leagues would rarely field a college graduate. This talent has been picked up by scouts at class 10 level. Vaibhav Suryavanshi is just an extreme example. Our education system is a destroyer of all talent by enforcing learning by rote and then coaching classes to crack competitive exams. As a result, we are creating a generation of nerds or the bitter majority that feels left out and hard done by. Changing any minister will not reform this mass oppression. It needs to be uprooted entirely, but it's unlikely simply because it doesn't go with the philosophy of a strong government. Because what's the point of a strong government in New Delhi if it won't centralize everything under it? You might wonder how come NEET paper leakages were not a problem until the other day, which means the pre-Modi era. That's because there was no NEET. The UP had also tried centralizing medical admissions, but the NEET it set up was struck down by the Supreme Court. This happened in 2013. It was struck down by a 3-judge bench 2-1 as unconstitutional. Several states, especially in the south, saw it as a stealing of their federal rights. The action of the infamous Medical Council of India, MCI, in setting up NEET in 2010 was intended to indirectly take over the admissions process in private medical colleges. The action of the infamous Medical Council of India in setting up NEET in 2010 was intended to indirectly take over the admissions process in private medical colleges. The 2013 order was, however, challenged and struck down by a 5-member bench in 2016. Now, NEET was a judicially sanctified body. After the 2016 5-judge Supreme Court judgment, the NEET was a judicially mandated body. Not a government mandated body, but a Supreme Court mandated body. The push for this centralization had come from the UPA era socialist thinking to curb high capitation fees in many private medical colleges. Because you know what? Education cannot be for profit. Think of the hypocrisy. If these medical colleges can no longer decide who to admit, how will they charge these extortionate fees? Go check out what's happening in those colleges. In that sense, for the UPA, it was part nationalization of medical education, and NDA, instead of reversing it, actually doubled up on it. And because the South and Maharashtra dominated medical education, the MCI and the central government establishment tried to strangle the industry by mandating a population-based licensing for new medical colleges. So, one medical college license per 10 lakh population. The southern states and Maharashtra pushed back and it was set aside. The fact that so many of these colleges are owned by politicians, many from the ruling party and its allies, helped as well. Pre-NEET, the states followed their own admission tests and processes, and the mass of school kids were spared this national stress fest. As also the central government, the risk of holding an examination at this scale with so many moving parts that something is bound to go wrong. But this government loves to centralize. They like to control. They are now ready with a fresh law to make their control of higher education across the country even tighter. You can Google Viksit Bharat Shiksha Adhishthan Bill 2025. This proposes an overarching higher education commission and 3 regulatory councils subsuming UGC, AICTE and NCTE, or all supervision over our university, technical and teachers education. Mercifully, the standing committee has stalled it, at least for now. Going back to NEET, it was to consummate that Supreme Court sanctified centralization success that Modi government set up NTA under the Societies Registration Act. It's supposed to conduct NEET, JEE, UGC NET, which is for research, and QET for undergraduate and postgraduate central university admissions. The NTA itself carries humongous power for a mere society, even if it's headed by an ideological faithful in Pradeep Kumar Joshi. He's an academic, not IAS. Check his record. Chairman of Madhya Pradesh Public Service Commission 2006-11, Chhattisgarh Public Service Commission 2011-15, UPSC, Chairman UPSC 2020-22, and now NTA. This kind of power and politicization was bound to create a mess. This is what the Modi government is now caught in. NTA has fired 47 officials. This is the price the Modi government is paying for centralizing so much power. And every time there's a crisis, the government gives you the lollipop of a fresh law. There's even a standalone law now against cheating in a NEET exam, as if the basic cheating law won't apply, or special courts that go on forever like the others. That's the reason we once called it lollipop politics. Lollipop as in law as a lollipop, to shut your mouth. Ministers will come and go, but if you want to cut the roots of the problem, start with NEET. Abolish NEET, decentralize all technical admissions, and restore to the states their autonomy. The center can conduct exams for its own medical colleges. Now we have 23 All India Institutes of Medical Sciences. Abolish NTA also. Treat the states as adults in our federal family. Legalize educational institutions for profit, because any which way they make profit. They are not in it for charity. And then let hundreds more colleges rise. Let the market forces play out. I would go so far as to say, scrap the emergency era 42nd Amendment that made education a concurrent subject and thereby restore to the states their original autonomy. It won't happen, I know, but there is no harm suggesting.